Hello, everybody. We're going to make sure that you can see and hear us using the magic of the hand.
Okay, hey everyone. So another Friday, another wrap up, another, I like to say a long week, but for most of us here, the week is not over. We'll be coming in over the weekend to get more done, but a good week, or good most of week. As you can see, as always, we've spared every expense possible, and so we apologize for the delay in getting Twitch up and going. Max is manning the notebook right now, and we don't have a high-end video person dedicated just to making videos, so excuse us while we have these glitches. But hey, you're MMO players, you're used to bugs. So before I talk about anything for this week, I'll answer two questions that I know you guys are going to ask. So let's answer them now, so we won't, when we go to Q&A, we won't have question after question about this. First, there won't be a Friday Night Fights tonight. We've been dumping way too much into the build to run any sort of a test. Unstable would be a really good way to look at it. And I'm going to talk about some of the things we have thrown into the build, but it's really not in the shape that we would want to have you Beta 1 folks in it. We may put up hatchery for IT and Alpha, but we're not even counting on that. Frankly, we are just trying to get everything we can in and test it ourselves. But there is so much stuff going in at one time that, again, unstable. Really good word. So, no Friday Night Fights tonight. Maybe an alpha test, maybe an impromptu alpha test over the weekend. Second question, and look, I'm not trying to avoid it. I really am not. Is this the end of winter? Does this mean we are going to go in beta, today? Obviously not. Are we going to go in beta next week? We're still working under the assumption we will. We are going to keep working, keep putting in the hours, and try to get everything we need to get in before or for the opening of beta. If we don't make it, obviously, then we'll tell you guys next week. But we still have, 7 days. So those are things, let's just get them out of the way. In terms of a wrap-up, another good week. Sort of like those weeks in a lot of trilogies where the middle book isn't very good, but a lot happens. Well, in our case, a lot happens. It's all good, but there wasn't a ton of, oh my God, this was amazing. We had some really good ads. One of the funniest was Rob got doors working late last night, and I mean like late last night, like 11:30. And after getting it in, he said, oh, and I could drown them too. So actually, you can use a water spell to cause damage to a door and actually drown the door. Not the water knocking down the door, but drowning the door. How is that possible? How can a door drown? Well, very simple. You treat doors as combatants. You treat them as whether you want to whether you want to look at it as NPCs, whether you want to look at it as players, you treat a door as a living thing. So yeah, in our BSC world, doors are alive. So yeah, expect drowning of doors and maybe other players as well with some of this interesting code. But yeah, doors are in and they're working. You've only seen little bits of it. We've been making major changes and updates to lighting over the last week. The world is really starting to look quite good. The artists have been working really hard to redo the textures to make everything really, no pun intended, shine. My work on crafting, along with Mark and the artist, is also going very well. We've got a lot of substances in there. We've got refining working really well. We have alloy making well. I just in the process of getting the numbers for improving armor. Hopefully I'll get that over to Mark this evening, and that will be in the game shortly thereafter. So that's moving quite well. Ben's giant spreadsheet of combat abilities has been read into the game, and we're going through it now and seeing what works and what doesn't work. But that was a major, absolutely huge, big, gigantic step for us, because obviously we don't want to input all the components and all the abilities by hand. So getting the spreadsheet set up so that they can handle them well and then import them and attach them and create abilities, that was and remains a challenge. And that's moved along very, very nicely. We continue to work on armor for the game. So when we go into beta, armor is going to look pretty darn good. Ballistas, we almost, have them working. So you'll be able to, as we promised, blow stuff up with things other than spells and abilities. Oh boy, what else? Lot of other stuff. Just checking stuff off the list. Small stuff, but very important stuff. Because frankly, at this point, everything's very important. What else? Boy, we had another test of the board game that went quite well. Next week, we're going to have the equivalent of the boss fight. So in this case, it would be the Ben fight, since he's become the servant of the depths. So we're going to be doing that, and starting after beta at some point, we're going to invite some of our backers, to come join us for playtest sessions. So you guys will be able to come in, hang out in the office for a bit, play some games, give us some feedback, and we'll see how it goes. We think that's going to be a lot of fun, especially since we're going to be focusing on, the boss fights. Boy, what else? I'm blanking.
Environment
Art's
art.
going well. Environment, Tyler keeps working on grass, unsurprisingly. But yeah, it's all good. Just checking things off the list. So that's the big wrap up. I mean, I'm really sorry about the Friday night fights and maybe even the alpha test tonight, but we have just put too much into the build to have any hope of it being stable tonight. Plus, we can't afford the time, certainly not this evening, to try to make it stable and even to monitor it. We just want to be doing what we're doing and getting stuff into the build and not having to worry about if it crashes, what are we going to do, et cetera, et cetera. Just not worth it this evening, maybe over the weekend. And I think that wraps it up for this evening. Again, really good week. Drowning Doors was just awesome. I mean, that was just a lot of fun to see a door actually, take drowning damage. So yeah, that's it. Turn it over to questions for now.
All right, folks, you've heard the weekly wrap up. If you have some questions for MJ, now is your chance.
And if not, I'll go back to crafting.
Koviet asks, is the crunch for Beta 1 moving along as expected, more slowly, or more quickly?
All three. Like any time you're trying to meet a deadline, sometimes some good things happen, drowning doors, and other progress that's a little faster than expected. On the other hand, there's times where you just kind of go, damn, this is going to take a little bit longer. Other times, right on schedule. So, that's been our experience. I wish that I could say everything went in ahead of schedule. That'd be awesome. On the other hand, I'm very happy not to have to say, yeah, everything has been a lot slower and everything has been horrible, which it hasn't. It's a nice mix. So,
Tildor TV, re-ask me that question, but specify whether you mean launch of Beta 1 or of the whole game. Hyunner asks, doors that drown, how will I secure my underwater lair then?
Scuba equipment. We'll be selling that in the cash shop. Just go in, you buy. No. Obviously, that is something we're doing for fun. Right now, in the real game, doors won't drown. Maybe. On the other hand, if we do have any kind of building underwater, then of course we would have to deal with it.
Maltazoid asks, how is Ben coming along with classes and ability import?
Oh, Ben's doing great. I mean, Ben is surviving the trials and tribulations of trying to take a ton of data during crunch, keep it all, balanced, and get it into the game all at the same time. So, yeah, he's doing great. I think you folks will be really pleased with what we've done so far, and even more pleased when you both see and experience what we're going to be putting in after the opening of Beta 1. And I don't mean the day after the opening, I mean during, Beta 1.
Samson WS asks, there's been a lot of exciting new things about castles and sieges lately, but can you talk a bit about your plan for smaller scale things for us to fight over, like caravans or towers?
Well, towers are just, smaller castles at the end of the day, right? So that's a matter of being able to, knock down the walls and get through the shielding, that sort of thing. So it's castles on a smaller scale. Caravans, on the other hand, is something that I'm quite looking forward to. Some games have had caravans in their game and hasn't been as great or as exciting of a system as I think we all would like. In this game, since caravans actually mean something, because you can't simply have your ballista in a box, and you can't carry tons on your back. Being able to outfit a caravan and take a caravan and protect the caravan to get it from one place to another is kind of a big deal. So it's both challenging for the teams that want to get the caravans across, and it's also going to be fun for the side that wants to raid the heck out of them. And so, it should be a really good battle. It should be a really interesting mix for the game.
Tildor TV asks, will the materials you can gather respawn at fixed locations, or will the spawn locations be RNG come launch of Live? The whole game.
So what you see in beta, will that be exactly what it is in the game at launch? No. That would make it a little bit too easy. Will some things potentially be in the same place? Absolutely. We don't see the need to remake the entire world. Though it would be actually a lot easier in this game than it would be about 99.9% of the MMOs out there. But expect to see a lot of things change. I mean, for example, the safe cities, we don't even want to start now. There's actually a question I'll be answering about, or I did answer on Piercing the Veil. We don't even want to start on that now because we want to make sure that when we do them, we want to do them right. And there'll be some places like that during beta that we will want to put extra resources on, not including the depths, of course, and we'll want them to be not consistent, stay the same from beta, but a lot else we will certainly switch up.
Frozen Toe asks, can you please crunch twice as hard?
No, sorry, not enough hours for that, and frankly, I think the team would want to kill me, so I wouldn't like that. I like these guys.
Hellwire asks, could you elaborate on the three realms in respect to how you intend them to play differently, and how substantive that difference is?
Well, that's a huge answer. We'll just start from the fact that armor is going to be different for all three realms. The Arthurians are going to have slightly heavier armor. We've talked about the bow weapons. For the archers will be different based on which realm you're in. We've said from the beginning that this game will not be a game of mirrored classes. And so that means there has to be some advantages and disadvantages, for each class. And whether that is maybe the TDD a little faster, or maybe the Vikings hit a little harder, or the Arthurians' heavy armor is a little heavier. It's going to be that and a lot of different things that we want to add to each realm to make them unique. We have to be very careful, of course, especially in a game like ours, where, if you're starting, if you have an MMO and you have a vertical progression system, you can afford to start with slightly more unbalanced races and classes if you like, and you figure you can work it out over time. If we start with too many advantages or disadvantages and the wrong kind, or they're the wrong amount for realms, it's much harder, to make that up because, again, it's a horizontal system. So you won't be able to say, well, that extra, few percent you got in the beginning, well, now it all washes out because essentially you're doing so much more damage than you were before that small percentage won't matter. So for us, it's a matter of, coming up with some good and unique things for each realm, and then making sure that we just don't do anything really dumb, so that you can have slightly different gameplay and certainly different class play, but not to the point where the majority of people think that all the other realms are OP. Because after all, we all know your realm is never OP. It's always the other realm that's OP.
Adri Cortesia asks, what was the greatest/funniest thing you worked on or was implemented this week?
Oh, Doors That Drown. I mean, that was just, bonus time. We had been talking, of course, how we were going to implement things like doors and ballistas and other things. And the idea of making them combatants, making them essentially entities in the world versus or living entities in the world, rather than simply, some kind of item, means you can have a lot more fun with them. And so, yeah, Doors That Drown, awesome.
Rhaegar asks, has Munchies for Crunchies been working good enough to cover all of your food costs? Do I need to throw more in?
Has it covered everything? No, it hasn't. Don't throw more in. Yeah, Rhaegar, if you've been putting in, thank you, that's great. Please, it's all good. We did that. Listen, we put that up and we haven't been talking about it a lot because we really don't want to seem like, hey, come on, give us more money. But we do know that the last time a lot of people asked us, hey, we'd like to throw a few bucks your way for Munchies, and so for that it's been great. What we've brought in so far has made it, cover most of the snacks. Food bills not so much, but that's okay. It's not a problem. If it was, I would tell you folks. And frankly, if that was a problem, oh my God, would the studio have bigger problems? Because if we can't pay our food bill, boy, we couldn't finish the game, could we? But I do thank you.
Cleanse Cersei asks, are you planning on adding some rounded bricks in Cube at some point before release? And there's a follow-up question to that.
Yes, we'd love to. Obviously, Andrew showed a demo a while back where he was warping bricks to make them round. So yes, we would love to, look at that again.
And the follow-up question is, how will you justify the difference between devs' buildings and player ones? Will devs use Cube to build the three main capitals and lore-based or everlasting buildings?
Yeah, we want to. I mean, that's part of we hope, the beauty of the system, that, we can use all the same tools to create what we need to for the safe cities. On the other hand, the safe cities have to be cool. They have to be well done. And if we look at what we have and we say, well, we just can't make them look as good as we would like, then of course we would farm them out, or farm out a lot of the assets. We would still do them in-house. But we hope we can. We really want to do it using Cube because frankly, that's what the system is for. And I hope we'd be able to recruit some of our builders to help actually build the safe cities.
Odilvik asks, does the water from water spells stick around after the spell finishes, as a pool of water on the floor, etc.?
Right now, but we'd certainly love to do that.
Zunjin requests, Can we have a Hugs for Ducks option as an addition to Munchies for Crunchies?
Thank you. Certainly not this week. By the end of next week, we might need some hugs from the Crunch.
Jamie Jones asks, will Cube, or more specifically, building and creating blueprints, be a mandatory component of the game on release? I heard things about selling blueprints. Does that mean people can become rich within the game by spending a lot of time in Cube?
Mandatories, I'm not sure how it could become mandatory. Having blueprints in the game makes things like building so much easier, of course. You've seen what Necro has done, and without blueprints, you couldn't hope to make a structure like that anywhere near as quickly as he was able to. So I do think blueprints are going to become an important part of the game. Again, you can always, well, not again, it's the first time I said it, you can always build your own house. I mean, that isn't all that hard. Building a keep, building a castle, obviously that's a lot harder. Building an amazing mansion, that's harder. So I guess it would depend, what's important to you. I think that at the end of the day, when you look at what we've done with Cube, the blueprint system is going to be one of the cooler innovations of it. And we've got, I hope, a lot more coming with it.
Artemis Hacks asks, since it has been established that fire is a water mage's bane, can we infer that dried leaves that a fire mage's weakness is dried leaves?
It would be earth, actually. Earth would be the opposing element to fire. So dried leaves, of course, would just kind of burn. But the idea that earth-based spells also would work against fire, absolutely. And water, too, depending on how hot the spell is and how cold the water spell is.
Hugs Me Not asks, will there be interrupts in-game that will lock a certain school of components from being reused for a certain amount of time?
That's a good Ben question, and that will shake out as we design all the classes. Is there a concept that you could essentially prevent somebody from using some of their components part of the game plan? Absolutely.
Sorry, folks, I think that's Twitch, not us. Just refresh if it freezes. Treveria asks, can the safe zone be dynamically expanded so later down the line CSE can have voting for the best structures and put them in the safe zone as a monument to the builders?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot we can do with the safe zone, and we plan on doing a lot with the safe zone. We've said from the beginning that the safe zone is there for a whole lot of reasons other than, just to have a safe zone. And expanding it over time, having it build out over time, doing more with what's around the safe zone area, we absolutely would love to do. We just don't certainly want to promise anything else than we already have in terms of where we want to go with those zones.
The Dubert asks, what is the biggest hurdle left to overcome before Beta 1?
Classes. Getting them all in and getting them functional. There's a lot of data for those 9 classes, and getting them all in and hooking them all up, that's still a hurdle. And, we're going to be working on it every day, trying to get it going.
Colin94 asks, have you decided yet about the number of servers for Beta 1? Any chance to get an EU Beta 1 server?
Absolutely. Absolutely to the second, not to the first. Yeah, we know we have to start testing the European servers. So, yeah, that's a guarantee. We had hoped we could get some in during Alpha, but obviously as we're crunching, we just don't have any spare bandwidth. But during Beta, yeah, that's and I don't say this often, as you folks know, that's a promise. It's really important to us. Since we've said both that we want to have U.S. servers as well as European servers, and being able to run tests where you folks in Europe play on our servers and folks in the U.S. play on European servers, kind of important. So we promise.
Spike Druid gives you the invitational. What have you learned about your team during the crunch?
Oh, I don't want to say nothing I didn't know already, but just a reaffirmation of how great of a team we have here, how hard everyone is working, and doing terrific work. Sometimes during crunch, you can imagine people might get a bit testy or very frustrated and things like that. Yeah, haven't seen any of it yet, which is just really good. So no, I don't want to say anything. I don't have anything other to say than just how I continue to be proud of everyone we have here.
Coviet requests, are we getting a little surprise streaming tonight since there will be no Friday night fights?
I don't know, honestly. Everything takes time. We'll see what happens.
Zube asks, will there be more air spell combinations in Beta 1?
Well, since we don't have any pure magic users in the game, the answer would be no.
Vesir asks, at what point during all the betas do you plan on getting progression to affect your character visually? Giants growing taller, etc.
Frankly, probably halfway through we'd want to start testing some of that stuff. But because it's something that is really low priority, because it's those sorts of visual changes take a while to happen, it's not a big focus. But it would be fun to start putting that in and testing it under, obviously accelerated growth rates, or time rates, since we're not going to have the servers up 24/7 like we will once we go live.
All right, folks, hit me with your best questions for us to finish this out with. And in the meantime, the Dubert asks, which member of the team has had the best computer-hating breakdown?
Scott. Scott was having an issue with one of his video cards, his video card, and so that was a little frustrating. Because certainly as you go into beta, as you go into crunch and you're going through crunch, you kind of hope the hardware just doesn't decide for whatever reason to die. On the other hand, JB has been fighting as well with his rig, especially with Visual Studio, and that's kind of important for a programmer.
Well, this is certainly interesting. Rhaegar asks, was there one thing that convinced you, Mark, to make another MMO?
Yeah, Guild Wars 2. And I think I've said this story. I've told the story a number of times. I honestly thought after EA and Mythic and some other things that I was not going to make another MMO. I loved MMOs, but I was a little burned out, after all that on MMOs. And even when we started the studio, my intentions then were not to make another MMO. And then Guild Wars came out, and I started playing Guild Wars, and I started remembering what I loved about MMOs. And then I was talking to some folks on the team about about making MMOs and how they felt about playing and making MMOs, and that just led me down the path to, I kind of would like to do that again. I spent most of my life making online games. As you folks know, I go back to the 80s, for gosh sakes, in professional online games, and even back to before then. in college with friends. And so, I love this genre. I love online games with a passion. And so, yeah, if it hadn't been for Guild Wars 2 and, some of the folks here also, sharing that kind of passion, and in some cases, obviously they played Dark Age of Camelot and Warhammer. Without that, I doubt I would be making another MMO.
Does that seem like a good place to
That's
start?
a great, Rhaegar,
right.
thank you. That's a great question, to end the stream. So, yeah, again, folks, great week. We got a lot done. Had a lot of fun getting some things in. Again, Drowning Door. You've seen some of the vines, as well as the posts. I'm going to do an update tonight, as well with some new shots. The new lighting that George and the team have been working on is just a game changer for us. It's not there yet, of course, but we're getting the evolution of the game is happening right before your eyes. I mean, if you go and look at some of the screenshots that we're putting up now, and you compare them to the same screenshots we put up a month ago, or a few months ago, or even at Dragon Con, the changes are phenomenal, and it's just going to get better as the artists work with the engineers to find the best way to make everything look outstanding. The game is just going to undergo a huge metamorphosis. I'm not hyping it. This is not, look at, MJ hyping change, all that. Decide for yourselves. Look at what we've done just in the last couple months, and know that we still have a long way to go. We promised you folks that we were always going to focus on performance. We also said that our game wasn't, excuse the bluntness, wasn't going to look like ass. And we are well past that now already. The game is looking really good. When you see the new armor, that's starting to look really good, and it's just going to get better. So, watch the game evolve. Watch it, look at the updates, look at the art. When we open up the next test, you'll see those changes. And just keep in mind how far we've come in a very short period, and especially for a team this size. This is not an MMO studio of 300 people, 200 people, 100 people. For gosh sakes, it's not even 60 people. We're a couple of dozen engineers, programmers, artists, designers, community, writers, all trying to do something that most other teams wouldn't try, most other studios wouldn't try with a lot, unless they had a lot bigger budget and a lot bigger team. And we're just a couple of dozen people building our own engine. That's something to always keep in mind. And you backers, especially you folks who backed us from the beginning, you guys made this happen. So, be proud of yourselves. Hopefully you're proud of us, but, be proud of yourselves as well, because you took a chance on us, and we're doing everything we can to deliver. So, as always, I want to thank you all for your support. I want to wish you all a great weekend. I am sure we will turn the cameras on at some point, maybe later tonight, certainly over the weekend, and look for the update and look for other updates as well. By the way, there's going to be, if you haven't been over to Massively today, they are running Ask Me Question, Get Ready for Podcast column. So if you have questions that weren't answered here, feel free to head on over to MOP and post them there. Bree and Justin will be going through them, and we're going to be doing a podcast with them next week. So that should be fun. That should be interesting. Bree and Justin have no fear of asking tough questions, so I kind of look forward to it as always. So join in, and I think that's it, Max.
I think so. Thanks for all the love, folks, and We'll see you again very soon.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend, all.
Have a good weekend. Bye bye.